So here goes interview stuff. One
Uh,
is, how did you well, first of all, ALINE, is it ALINE?
Claude Aline.
Claude Aline. When what's your kind of ethnic historical
So
story?
I'm a Haitian American.
Oh, no
My
way.
father's name
Okay.
is Jean-Claude. Um, so I'm French Haitian descent. Grandmother is French. Great grandmother is French. My parents both grew up in Haiti. So I'm first generation, born in the United States. And my name is basically from my father, who is Jean-Claude. I'm Claude. Aline is my grandmother, but it's an old French name, Claude Aline.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a
Awesome.
mouthful. Claudie works. Claudie works.
Okay, and that's how your friends call you that?
Yeah, everyone knows me by Claudie.
Okay. And then so what's yeah, so tell me, like, so you grew up in Chicago, but your grandmother was like, I mean, I've got a really dear friend of mine, B King Drossant. Do you know B King?
The King, yes, sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's a Haitian guy grown up
Yeah.
in Chicago, but he's more like joined the Haitian community when he was a teenager, you know. But
Hmm.
and we had kind of crossed paths. He went to a kind of a evangelical Haitian church up in Edgewater, right on Broadway. And I used
Okay.
to walk by there, and I was like, "This is what a cool place." He's like, "Oh my God, I wanted to get out so bad when I was a kid." You know, he was with his parents, but I've got some insight. I've spent some time with his family, and they're really sweet. Um,
Yeah.
so how was it growing up Haitian, in your neighborhood or.
Well, I mean, there wasn't very many like any Haitians that existed in Chicago growing up. I mean, we all knew each other. We're all like family.
Okay.
So very small Haitian community at the time, or it's the community of Haitians that live on the south side of Chicago, and of course there's the community of Haitians that live north side, etc. But we pretty much all knew each other by just the name of our family. So the last name, family name, is what connected you, you know. So everyone
Okay.
that I was the daughter of Nazaire, Claude Nazaire from Jirami, which is a town in Haiti. So like that's how you connect the families and everything like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah, you know, there weren't we grew up Haitian American, but we had lots of foreigner immigrant families that where I grew up. So it was just a mixed culture growing up. So there's a lot of people that came from the Caribbean islands, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Haiti. All of us kind of knew each other, Jamaican, Belizean. So I just grew up in a very first generation neighborhood. And
Okay.
so that was just southeast side of Chicago. So we just was kind of exposed to great many people. So
Yeah, right. Because you have that other world, so you're like I can relate, by the way, to this kind of story because my mother was as a immigrant. My mother's German Iranian and moved here when she was about 23. So I have
mhm.
that. People always think, oh, but I've got this totally different viewpoint. But I guess, how did you feel? I mean, I'm always fascinated by like America's got this really aggressive foreign policy, and I think Haiti was colonized by the French and the Americans who had for about 100 years, right? Because of
Mhm.
resources. And so how did you have you, I mean, and you seem like the person that could have done some work around this, but how did it feel like growing up in like your colonists, how did it feel like growing up in like the south side of Chicago, knowing what you did know, or when you became aware of what was that like? How did that
But you
adjust? Or
become aware of it. I mean, one thing about growing up first generation, you're already an outcast, right? I mean, I'm growing up and uh, we're all mixed. I'm exposed to many first generation people, but we're still at the end of the day kind of like immigrants, right? That came into
yeah,
this country. So like African Americans, I grew up with African Americans, but I definitely spoke differently.
yeah,
Like you could hear the accent because my parents just came to this country. So I spoke English the way they spoke English,
yeah, yeah.
same language. And so that was interesting for me, is just growing up in that way. So I just felt like an outcast. And not until I actually got to high school that I really realized, like the impact of what Haiti was contributing at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of my high school classmates, they were vacationing in Haiti at the time, so it wasn't like an elitist type vacation getaway at one point, but then it just kind of turned, and you know, as you can imagine, the colonization of America and everything, you know, it eventually took its toll on Haiti.
Yeah, right, right. And then and where we're well, and so then let's go back to like the your work as a photographer. I mean, when you, so how did you bring that into your work, and what's your kind of, how does that inform, how does being an immigrant, I know that's such a cold word, but, and I can use it because all my family is, so I'm not like pointing fingers at you. I'm like in this discussion myself because I've had that. I lived overseas for the first 10 years of my life. So when I moved back to Texas is in the 70s, I was always an outsider. I mean, you know, like, where did you live? Who are you? The only reason they gave me belonging was my dad was an oil company executive. So we were kind of on the, but we were always fucking different. My mom spoke like 6 languages and stuff. So I'm not saying this in like, oh, and how fucking weird are you, Claudie? You know, like, no, I mean, I totally live your, you know, in a different way. I live your, relate. But okay, so how does it, and then I go, look, and then I'm so over here, I'm always jealous, or I'm always attracted to, like, I could see becoming attracted to like what Sandra's doing because he's so comfortable in who he is, in that where he came from. And I don't really know enough about him. I just kind of see him operate, like his entitlement, his just ownership, his, you know, just general, just like power. And then, so how do you, so what's your process? Like, where are you in your process? Like as that person joining, assimilating, I mean, and not really by choice, just by the fact that you're here. And it's not like you said, okay, I'm going to US, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to do this. And you're like, you grow up and you think like, how the fuck do I fit in? So that piece I can really relate in. So, and then how does that fit? Like, how do you relate to your own work, or where's your own work in that way?
You know, I have to say that I guess, you know, I was always attracted to different people that were doing just creative things, and just being different from what I was exposed to. And I have to say, not even that, I was so attracted to all the things that I was being exposed to as growing up. So for instance, just all the different languages that I was exposed to. All my parents' friends came from somewhere else in the world. So my father went from Haiti to Germany and did his studies in engineering in Germany. So when I was a young child, my dad was speaking German to all his friends, his university friends growing up. So I was exposed to that. And I'm on the south side of Chicago. And then, you know, both my parents speak Spanish, and, you know, Spanish and Creole and French. And so all these different languages, all these different people were always like in the foreground of my life. So I love that. I was very much attracted to that, and that diversity just kind of powered me through growing up. So I never felt like I needed to just fit myself in one arena. I didn't have to say that I'm just from the south side of Chicago. I'm that and more. And so that is what kind of propelled me throughout life, I think. And to be attracted to somebody like my husband, Sandro, he's very much like me. He's, you know, he was born and raised in the States in Chicago, but his mother came from Italy through Ellis Island, and his father was a German American. So we're both experiencing the same type of first generational thing. And I've always loved that about him and everyone that I pretty much met growing up. I was always attracted to that. And when it comes to my film world, I'm always curious. That curiosity of other people, other cultures, what people do creatively, all of that kind of helps me be curious and want to know more and have a story, or find out the story about other people. So for instance, I have to go back a little further into my photography world. I first started.
Definitely. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So photography goes, I've always wanted to go to school for photography, but my mother came to this country as a biochemist, my father, a mechanical engineer, both studied overseas and then came to the States. I'm telling them the middle of two other sisters that I want to be a artist. I want to be a photographer. Of course, that doesn't gel well with my first generation family that wants you to be a doctor or, do certain things that are just very normal and something that can give you a living, right? So I always wanted to do that, but I didn't get the chance to. So I ended up going to university and becoming a social worker.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so I did that, and while I'm going through that, I'm being asked being pulled in a direction to continue wanting to explore photography. So I took it up. I became self-taught. I ended up getting my own studio together. But in my social work days, my position was to interview families for adoption and foster care. So I was responsible for interviewing families who wanted to adopt or foster children and create what they called home studies, which you get to know the families. You get to know where they come from. You get to know their finances. You get to know all these things and to make an executive decision whether or not these people are qualified to have children. So I got to know a lot of people. I got to sit with a lot of people. I got to know a lot of people from all different backgrounds. And I love that. I love the curiosity of wanting to know more about them. And so by doing that, I ended up coming up with a project of my own called, it was called Essential Blueprints. And what I did is I wanted to create, follow a woman's pregnancy through storytelling and portrait photography. So I would do these portrait photography and I would do these video interviews with these pregnant women, and then create a custom journal about their whole gestation period. And that was the making of my photography world of, telling this story about this journey a woman takes from the time she finds out she's pregnant to the time she.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that was the beginning of my photography world. And I was pretty successful with it for many, many years. And then ultimately I ended up meeting Sandro, and then I kind of had a little pause on doing that part of my life, that photography. So.
Well, you're kind of like studying at another level. So I don't buy the pauses. It's your identity, but I always think of like those moments of like, they're not so, I don't at least ever stop working. I'm working at a different level, I'm filling out some kind of different story. Again, that's my association, not you. That's cool. That's really awesome. So then, well, okay. So thank you for that. What that work is it? Do you still have that? Did you walk away from it? Is it in your binder? Is it like on the wall? Is it like, what did you do with that?
No, I took a very long pause. I mean, many things, happened at the time when, just after connecting with Sandro a few years later, Sandro ended up with cancer, and we kind of stopped to care for him and to kind of focus on his healing process there. So that was my reason for that pause. And then it just, you get comfortable, you get into a long relationship, and you just kind of, and not to mention, I became very curious about how working in the commercial world was all about. So there's a lot of things that drew my interest. So I kind of went there. But I did quite a few pregnant women along the years, even up to this point. Many people call me, so I still do portraits of women, and I really love that. It's the beginning of my creative years, so I really like it very much. Women really like it. It's not just capturing the physical transformation of a woman, but it's also, by doing the journaling that I was doing, it's also like capturing the physical transformation, spiritual, mental transformation of a woman going into motherhood. Yeah.
Yeah. Like one of those, like her story kind of thing. Right.
Exactly.
Which is really cool. And I have this conversation, my wife's a painter and an artist, and we've been on this journey for a long time. And she, well, I haven't done that. And I argue with her. I take this position a lot with her, which is, I mean, we tend to identify with and I don't know if you read much of John Berger, but John Berger had said, art, unfortunately, we've oriented around the kind of masculine version of making art. And if you don't play that version, you're not real. And I know that you're saying that, but Michelle and I have this, she goes, well, you've just taken up so much of my time. And I've said, well, that doesn't mean that what you do is anything less than what I'm doing, because I couldn't do what I do without you. And we're very competitive, but it's that whole, man, genius, artist. There's that. And then if any, it's hard to be it's hard to be myself next to that. And I kind of put, Michelle and I talk about, like, I'm no man genius artist. That's never been my thing. I've always been kind of more of a multidisciplinary kind of person that's enjoyed that as a guy. I just enjoy doing different things all the time. I'm not focused on this one thing. But that's what I'm hearing. You're in this phase of work that includes more stuff, more powerful moving objects or emotional or life forces that you have to deal with as a human. And so I think that's a really fun thing to talk about in terms of an artist, because you're clearly a dedicated individual, but then where does that, if as a dedicated individual, is looking through the fucking lens the best thing I could be doing at one point? No. I mean, and so so anyway, I think I can understand your struggle, or if it is indeed a struggle, I understand your position.
It's funny because I mean, I think of it like I had all these stepping stones towards where I am today, to be quite honest. I mean, I started off, if I wouldn't have created the pregnancy business if I wasn't a social worker, wasn't doing home studies for a social service agency. Having the opportunity to sit down and get to know people and find out if these are good people and whether they can be trusted to foster or adopt children was a big undertaking, right? So I remember taking that job very, very seriously. And I love the people that I ultimately met, and I love the children that I ultimately placed in these homes. And even know that these families became really beautiful, wonderful families, right? So I put that together. I was always excited about that type of stuff. But eventually, I mean, I always knew that I was going to do something creative. I was always like burning up inside, like, this is not my world, like I knew I was going to grow into other things. So by creating that business, it took me years to kind of put it on paper, create this business plan, do the whole thing, and think every process out. And I did. And ultimately, I was in different ultrasound clinics around the city. I was in hospitals, and it was like a really nice very thorough thought of plan that allowed me to create some beautiful, beautiful books for families. Once I eventually got through that, I focused on photography overall, but it was something missing about storytelling when it came to just doing photography. I love the pregnancy stuff, but I miss telling more stories. I didn't want to just take a photograph. I wanted to tell more. So that eventually, because of Sandro, going from just being, always being a photographer, but also directing commercials, directing art films. I was exposed to all of that. I was on the producing end of things, on behind the scenes, on the managing side of things. So I was learning every step of the way what was happening in Sandro's world. And I was just kind of packing it away from me and learning from everything that I was being exposed to. So by doing so, I eventually came to this point for filmmaking.
Okay, cool. Well, then how did you go from, what are your biggest challenges then of moving from photography to filmmaking?
Biggest challenges? I don't know.
Were there any challenges? I don't know. Did it,
I don't know if I, to be honest, I think it's the natural evolution there for me, because there came a time where I didn't want to photograph. It was like, I wanted to know more about the people that I was meeting. So I would meet these people and I would take a photograph, and I don't know if it's because maybe I'm, the wife of Sandro Miller, you know what I mean? It's like, because the man knows how to take really great photographs. So I look at those photographs and I'm in awe all the time. And not to compete with him, but I saw something different. Like for me, it's like I wanted to talk to these people more. I wanted to know the backstory. Like if there's a very, I could easily have gone into, let me just do BTS. Let me just photograph them and then interview them. I wanted to get into that for some reason. That was like kind of my passion. That's the kind of thing that was drawing me in. So I'd love to do the photography, but I also want to have motion. I like to hear people talk and respond and tell me about themselves. I wanted to go deeper in that way.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's great.
So I didn't have any real challenges to going into directing. I just needed to be pushed. And I was very curious about it. I spoke to my husband about it. I talked to my husband producer about it. And they both agreed that I should consider going into it. And then I basically ultimately did that, especially just before COVID. I started that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was thinking of like, because what was clear, I think from your movie, how do you call that? This show, how do you call? Do you have a nickname for your movie?
376 days.
That's it. You just saw 67.
376.
376. Okay.
So the full name, of course, is 376 days. Nick Cave, keep it moving.
Okay. Let's see, what was I gonna go? Had you what was the thing? I mean, you kind of talked about it a little bit out in the park, but what was the thing that you were most inspired, like when you got when Nick came to you, and what's his partner's name again? Mick and
Bob.
Oh, Nick. When Nick and Bob approached you about making this piece, what was and I get this a lot, like, oh, here's an assignment, and I think I don't really want to take the assignment unless I can make it into something that I want to do, right? And so you meet, like, what was the immediate vision that you saw? Because they said, well, didn't they just say, hey, we just need a little video to promote the show, right? And then
right, it was well, there was just two things. They needed a documentary. Museum of Contemporary Arts was going to do a documentary on Nick, very specifically on the Color Is exhibition, which was a fashion performance. They really wanted to document that venture for Nick.
Okay.
So Nick,
the one over at that DuSable, the museum.
The one that was at DuSable,
okay,
yeah.
Got it.
So Nick saw that as an opportunity for me to work that out for him, and he really didn't have anything else to provide me with any type of direction regarding.
Oh, right.
Just more like, hey, they were going to do a documentary on me getting ready for this exhibition, this fashion performance. Do you want to do it? We want you to do it, kind of a thing. And I, of course, was, very pleased, in awe, and very nervous, and in many ways very overwhelmed, all at the same time. And because when you take on a project like that, and it is Nick Cave, I'm very aware he is my friend. However, it is a big undertaking, and I just, I want to make sure I can make it happen. Mm-hmm. And the main thing is, just after accepting it, I just thought maybe because he's Nick, he's going to give me some kind of direction. So like, that's the first thing I fell on. I was like, right away, I wanted to check in with them and see, okay, so, hey, all right, so how do we begin? What do you guys want? And Nick, right away, he goes, no. He's like, I have my work to do and you have your work to do. And that was the only direction.
I love that.
And that, for me, changed my world.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great moment. I was thinking about that. Like, wait, hold on. You think I'm going to make this No, you're doing the documentary. I'm being me. You do that thing.
Exactly. He's like, that's you. That's all on you. And I thought that was the biggest gift he could have ever given me.
All right,
Is
so go. Okay, so go with that. So you get this gift, right? He tells you basically, Claudie, you're on your own. I mean, you tell my story, but it's I try whatever. So what was the first thing that like just break that down like into like some beats. Like
well, basically, I needed to figure out. I know Nick and Bob. We know each other as friends. All of us are friends. But to see them work, or to see Nick work day to day, that was different for me. That was something that
yeah.
I was going to have to learn, and that's what I was actually curious about. Because normally when we're getting together as friends, we're just saying, okay, let's get together, let's all hang, and that's what we do. But
Mhm.
to try to discover someone's processes, that takes time, that takes research, that takes all of that. So I was very eager for that to start. So that was my first step, is
All right,
trying
so
to.
what? But then okay, and that's great, awesome. That's like the first beat. So where did you think to go for process first? Like, okay, here's a friend. I mean, that's not a little jump. Then you're like, so who did you go to? Who did you? Who set the process? Where did you? What was the source of his process?
Well, I knew about Facility. Facility is their newest location in the last, I don't know, time flies, so 3-4 years, I'm sure. I knew that all the magic was happening there.
At the place over on Western
Facility.
or whatever it is,
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. So that is where that's the facility. That's the structure where they create everything, right?
Okay. Yeah,
That's it.
we did that. We did that tour. And so
Yeah.
I know you. Yeah, I know. I understand what that is now.
So
When you,
that's where all the magic happens.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I wanted to go there without a camera, just a notepad with my
Oh,
iPhone recording
yeah,
device, just
yeah.
to see how everything flowed there. Like I wanted to see how he moves about the space. I wanted to see who comes in and out of the space, how, if he has students there, workers there, collaborators there, how he and Bob communicate. So all of those things I needed to kind of witness
Yeah.
without camera, and just kind of take notes just to see the flow of things. And so I did that quite a few times before starting with a camera.
Okay, interesting. I love that. So and that's like getting to an assignment and walking into the building without and I love that, like walking into the building without a camera, without anything, just hey, I'm here. Let me digest first. Let me nibble on the environment and be here with you guys without my, that's such a powerful step. I love that.
Yeah, it was nice. And then, of course, Nick was very busy, as of Bob and Jack. They were very busy, very much very focused on where their
Yeah.
goals were.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to interrupt that flow at all. I just wanted to see how it all gelled together. And they really have like a really beautiful machine going on there, and it just works. I don't know how they do it, how they were able to make that work.
Mhm.
There's, those three are very unique. They're both all three creative in their own way,
Oh,
and
Jack
all
is the
very
brother,
different.
right? Jack is
Jack is
Nick's
Nick's
brother. Got
brother.
it. I was trying. Okay.
So, who's also a lecturer, professor at the Art Institute,
Okay.
and the School of Arts, the Art Institute. So like they both do their thing, and I just wanted to see how it would work in my film. But I basically just needed to do my research, needed to just observe and just look and just be a fly on the wall.
Well, what filmmakers inspire you? What artists inspire you?
What artists inspire me? Well, I'm very much inspired by my husband.
That doesn't count. Come on.
It does. It does. You know why? It's so funny that you say that. I'm inspired by many different artists, but I have to say, because my background was social service, I didn't get to live the artist life. I didn't get to go to school as a artist student or a filmmaker or a photographer. I didn't get that opportunity. What my my opportunity to learn, to be creative, to live as an artist, to be creative and accept my desire to be an artist, my being, my true self as an artist came from having the opportunity to live and work and love my artist husband.
Aw.
So, you know,
So,
and
yeah.
I'm being very serious, because I tell you, you've taken a couple classes from Sandro, but you haven't. I've seen my husband. I'm never bored, because he's constantly moving, he's constantly producing, he's constantly energized, always creating something different and new. And you sit there and you go, wow, like that to me is important. That inspires me to do things for myself. I really realize daily when he's still creating and I'm at a block. It's just like, what am I doing? Why am I not producing? Why am I not photographing? Why am I not filming something? And when I watch him, he's consistent. He's an executor. He does it, he thinks about it, and he does it. He doesn't sit on it. He doesn't just keep it in his head. He actually physically goes out and makes it happen. And that's what sets us apart in many ways. Some of us are talkers, some of us are doers. And when it comes to artistry, you got to make it happen. You have to create things. And I'm learning that daily. I don't want, I've sat down too long in my life. Now it's time to execute.
I love that. That's great. So
Yeah.
Sandro is your inspiration. This is great. So honestly, and I'm teasing you. I think I'm inspired a ton by my wife and stuff, and I have no formal art education myself. So this has always been my, like, what I'm doing now is my art education. So I've done this, whether it's like this or whatever, but for me, it's always been kind of like I love doing what I do. And sometimes my biggest meltdowns are like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but it doesn't matter because I just keep following my heart and shit opens up, right? It's just like, okay, well,
It
here I am.
does. Yeah.
So I was teasing you, and because my wife has more formal training, but I've always used, she's a big block, but she loves my energy too. So I literally like destroy shit, and then so we have a dialogue. So that was, my laughter was not like I
Oh,
totally.
no, I know. Of course. And
Yeah.
and again, we're fully surrounded by artists. I mean, we're very, very close to a great deal of working artists here,
Yeah.
all over the world, actually, everywhere we travel. So like I said, we're friends with Bob and Nick and Kahil Zabar, Lucy Slavinsky. I mean, I know Carrie James, Theaster Gates. I mean, I know all these guys. At one point or another, before Theaster Gates, I was good friends with him, just as regular young adults, just trying to make our way through life and trying to figure out things. And he was steadily growing to where he was, and I'm doing the same on my path and my journey. So I've learned from all of these guys exactly that, how to pursue a life of artistry, how to share that life, how to collaborate, how to just create. So I don't know. I'm inspired by all of that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, thanks for that. And it
Mhm.
kind of reminds me of how awesome my friends are and how
Yeah.
they make me do stuff. And
Mhm.
like that the ongoing study, etc. What are your couple I'll wrap, we're gonna be done in like 10 minutes. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
So the ongoing, like, what are your disciplines that keep you inspired? Or maybe what does your day look like? One, and then two is oh, you didn't, maybe you can hint at like what's your next project? Like you said you had some possibilities. Maybe you can kind of like, I mean, if you're watching this interview like next a couple years from now, like see if you can't just like tell it, not tell it. Yeah, obviously I'm selfishly like interested, but yeah. And then what's your day like? How do you stay, what's your health routine, or what's your kind of like, cloudy routine? Like what gets you going in the morning?
Hmm. Well, I have a lot of big ideas. I do write them down.
Okay.
And I have to say that it's more of the same. I'm just trying to tell more stories. Um, I'm very interested in telling stories about artists in a very genuine, authentic way, and a very beautiful way. I love what I've tapped into with this Nick Cave film. However, there's so many artists that I know. I think there's a lot of processes that many people in general want to know about regarding painters, graphic designers, musicians, sculptors. But sometimes it's on the surface. And I think that if I get an opportunity, I would just very much like to dive deeper into that. I have something brewing, but it's something that I'm not going to mention, but it's along those lines, I should say, because that's what makes me happy. And I think I found that niche that I think I can build upon.
Okay.
So
That's
yeah.
cool. That's great. So, okay. So that's, I think I know what it is,
Mhm.
but I can't tell you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm teasing. Hey, so what would you, so, okay, what would you tell, how would you advise, a boy and a girl of, young young friends of you, like, how would you, prepare them for the life that you feel is the most valuable? What would you say? What is your direction for a young person?
My direction for a young person, I would say, is do what you love.
Okay.
Do what you love. If you're drawn to it, just go for it. It doesn't matter that you don't have the education for it. You have the desire, the willingness, work hard at it, but do what you love. Complete the task. Just take that journey, get on a plane, travel, just do it. Because at the end of the day, life doesn't wait for anyone. You have to seek out your happiness, and just do it. Really, just do what you love.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh, so I would say vanilla.
Vanilla? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't eat ice cream very much.
No, but it is vanilla. Okay, okay, that's fine.
It's vanilla, but I go a lot. Most of the time, I'll go for like a lemon ice cream, no dairy these days.
Or just like lemon ice.
Lemon and ice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. Maybe a little bit of like sugar or something, just simple, like.
Simple, not too sweet, more tart on the tart
Yeah,
side.
no, I love that. Like the Italian ice, but with good sugar.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. What about your favorite meal? Like, what's your favorite food?
Oh, sushi.
Sushi, really?
Mhm.
All right. What about your dream vehicle? Motorcycle, car, boat?
I'm a Jeep Wrangler girl.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, I've owned 2 Jeep Wranglers, and I ultimately will have another Jeep Wrangler.
Like off-road shit? Do you get off the road?
Yeah, I like off-road. Yeah, I like big
Big
cars,
tires and
big
stuff?
Jeeps, tires. Yeah, I like all that. Yeah,
You like mud? Yeah, you like mud or gravel? What kind of road service do you?
all of it. I used to ride motorcycles,
Oh,
so yeah,
really? What motorcycle did you
I
ride?
had a BMW 800 GS.
All right, yeah, I had an F800 too for like 10 years.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yeah, I turned it into a scrambler, but I know you had the GS, but I took my yeah, I know. So F800 GS. What else?
Yep.
You're a dirt bike. Can you see my dirt bike in the
I
back?
see it back there. I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you.
yeah, yeah. I have 2 KTM 350s that I ride. We just bought a piece of land up in Michigan, and I ride all over the place. We're going for a long ride up at some like this Bushnell, but some other. I ride with a bunch of group of guys, all off road. Like I ride around the city. I was over at your house on my
Yeah.
dirt bike.
I saw that. I saw that. No, I love riding. We gave it up a few years back, but I was hoping that ultimately we could pick it up
Dude,
again.
I mean, if you want to come, it would be fun. I have 2 street legal like dirt bikes. Basically, Chicago doesn't give a shit right now, so it's full. All I have is my. I don't even need the license plate anymore. But I have 2 of these 350s. I'll take you up to what we call the dirt spot. It's over on if you're down for it, I mean, maybe you're, if you're open, I'll take you to some Chicago tracks, and they're really fun. That they're
Really?
full on dirt biking, crazy shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
cool. We
So
did,
that-
for our honeymoon, we rode all the way to Telluride, Colorado from our place in Michigan.
oh,
It
where's
was
your place
awesome.
in
Wow.
Michigan?
Where it was in Trufant. It's
Yeah.
north of Grand Rapids, about 40 minutes north of.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
about 3.5 hours from here, but we
Okay.
sold it during COVID.
Oh, you sold. Okay, you kind of got a
Yeah,
good price for it, right?
it was all right.
Oh, okay, but you just got rid of it. Oh, that's so fun.
During
I mean,
COVID, so it was all right. But it was Sandro had it for over 30 years.
oh, okay.
That was beautiful, beautiful. So we stored our bikes there, and we did Upper UP. We did, we used to ride all the time.
Oh, I missed that part of that. You guys is I should have gotten. Well, I'm okay. Nerd bike. What else? What was the last thing? That was basically. Oh, are you a? What's your favorite swim stroke? Like breast, crawl,
Yeah,
back, or just like doggy paddle?
yeah, just
Doggy paddle.
doggy paddle. Just freestyle. I like to do laps.
All
Or
right,
what
all right.
that is it freestyle? Oh.
No, it's like freestyle. I always think of like I just use everything. I just move. I like forward.
Yeah, forward. That's it. Forward. Just forward. I like to do laps and just go.
Yeah, just like jump around and swim underwater. I don't know. It's just kind of a fun thing because I'm a water person and a motorcycle. I think I hit up at the best one. Okay, what? Hey, if we end up talking more, great. Thank you so much for doing the interview. It's gonna what I'll probably do if okay, this is the ideal, and if that changes for you, let me know. So I'm gonna do the portrait and then maybe like 100 words. Like I'll just summarize in my own way something, and I keep it positive. I think this is a vision for myself as well as you. This is not a critique or anything. It's like it's a celebration of art and artists, and our creativity. So it's
Yeah.
there's nothing, there's no critique in it. I have no desire in that area. I would say anything anyway. So, and then your portrait, that, and then I'd like to put a link in or a thing to the interview, like the long form, if somebody wants to check it out. So,
Okay. So my takeaway from this, is like, what I would like everyone to know is really if
yeah.
I was given an opportunity, and it was a big task, and I'm just so happy that I took the jump, because I hesitated at first because I want to take the challenge. I think you said something about I want to make sure I could do it justice, right? I wanted to make sure I could do it justice. And you got to think about how high those stakes were when I was asked. This is Nick Cave and Bob Faust asking me to do this. And it was stacked pretty high. And when I said yes, I knew that it's gonna take everything in me to make it happen. But I was up for the challenge, and I was gonna do it. And so that was it. I'm just very humbly, I was happy to do it.
I think you killed it. I think that you did a really great job. I mean, it was, and I think and I'm sitting here like I've got all my tellies and stuff around me because I've done a lot of projects. We've just finished a really cool project with the MacArthur Foundation.
Mhm.
And I used to do all the shooting and directing of my stuff up till about 10 years ago. And then I've got a really great team, and we produce like, 2 or 3 pieces every year for our clients, whether it's Sergeant Shriver or what's a really great crew. And I'll send you some links to our stuff.
Okay.
I feel really strongly around my film practice, and I'm kind of like executive producing now. I just keep people like alive. I really love the photography because I have so many projects that go into depth. Like my filmmaking team I've been with for over 20 years, and we make beautiful stuff. It's Melissa and Cody and Brian and we shoot, direct, write. And then, we like, that's how we got invited with Carrie to do the tour.
Right.
So my critique is not light when I say, oh, you hit, I can see the messy stuff, but it all comes together. And I think what's important about what was missing was you. Okay. I really feel, I said that right on the outset. I don't think I would ever, I mean, that would be an important critique in terms of here and now, like what the form, the art form is of motion. And, you know, and obviously commercial things are different than assignments are different than my own work. And I get that. But what was missing was more of you, because I think you had a lot to offer, and you were asked personally. So it wasn't like, hey, I need to get this done, but it was like, hey, Claudie, we need you to direct this. So I wanted, and I know you were in it, but okay, you were in a good job, but I would have said, hey, I want to hear the voice of this woman who's doing this. You know, and I think you got it. You nailed it with mom. You nailed it with his mom. I mean, she was just like that part of the story I always love to hear. So anyway, I think you nailed it. Honestly, I think you did a really great job. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really have no idea. You know, I did. It was like, oh, this is really good. I really loved how you ran your team and you selected your music and edited it. And it wasn't like, oh, and I don't gather that you did it all yourself, because it was like you had to do it all yourself. Like you had a team. You had a.
I have my team. Yeah. It's
Yeah, so that's really I learned a lot. I was like, oh, when we're moving in that direction, where it's not really about, I don't have to do everything to show that I'm the best. I need to share the vision and let people work and evolve under me or with me, you know, so that I do my best work with others right now.
Yeah, and I have to say that's one thing I do want to talk about is my team. That so the part about my team is I put it together in you know, very different ways, as far as who was coming across, people I've already worked with, and some that I had never worked with before. And I love the fact that I was just humbly asking, hey, I don't have much of a budget, but are you willing to take on this job with me? I think it's going to be special. But I want to put everything I've got into it. And all my guys were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So they all had the passion and the desire to create something beautiful. And that was the first step. They're all my friends, which is another thing. As I told you before, it's an original score from a good friend of mine out of LA, who's a music composer. So that meant a lot for me to not just get some stock music. I wanted to give it everything I've got. And by soliciting good friend of mine to say, hey, let's do this. And he was just like, yeah. And then we worked really well to
that's
do
fun.
something that would please, you know, Nick, you know, the music, he's a music guy. So it was good to know that I pleased him there. They loved it. They loved it so much.
They loved it.
They loved it.
Yeah, the music was. Hey, so can you send me the credits and stuff so I can just post them in the?
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yep,
Yeah.
I'll send you the,
so I'll make sure that
my
that's
editor, my camera guys. I mean, we're a very small unit, but I'll send you the credit. Yeah, so I'll send it to you. I
send me the
love
credits and then send me maybe the link if you want to share it. And it's at YouTube, right? Isn't that YouTube?
What's that?
Sent me? How did I watch it? Did I watch it on YouTube?
Film?
Yeah.
Oh, the film I gave you, that's a link that's private.
You know, I know that's right. So if you, but you can send me, is there an official link that you can share with me? I didn't want to share that link, right? Because
you know what, I'm trying to figure out what I could share for you to show. It wouldn't be a film. It'd be more of you want it to be an article. Like, I don't know.
No. I mean, okay, so I'll do like my piece about you, and then I'd like to share a little bit, like, since you're promoting this film, let's at least drop the link to, is there a website or something like that that people can go to? Is there a?
So I didn't produce a website yet for the film, and I probably will be doing that soon, because it appears that that's probably the next step for me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what that would be. Let me think about that.
Yeah, we have like DC usually needs all my collateral by like the 15th or so. So we have like another, if you send me what you got and then like throw it in an email or just send me some links in a text, and then we can go from there. Yeah, there's so much more to talk about. I'm sorry, I just kept it to an hour. I didn't want to run over time. So
no,
I'm not. It's not that I'm disinterested in here. I mean, I think these are like, there's such a short amount of times to talk about everything that needs to be taught. Cause I really wanted to get into the team thing, you know, like,
Yes.
because the way that I know running my team is a huge like artist thing. I mean, it's sometime you're like, I always think that like a photograph or some fucking piece I make for a client or even stuff that I make myself never really captures the complexity of running, building, managing, directing a whole community of artists to do stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and that gets talked about. Well, there's never really enough time to talk about all the humans and families and bits and pieces, right? There just isn't. So once we go down that road, it's like, oh my God, how did you get that? And what was that interaction like? I mean, those take all that discussion takes hours.
It takes
So,
hours. It takes hours. There's so much to say. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
I like
yeah.
to start off with family. I don't even know if we talked about my two sisters. I mean, it's just
I know, right?
so much. So if you have any other questions for me, of course, let
I
me
mean,
know.
I'll send you, and then maybe that we'll do a year. Maybe you can be artist number one each year. Like I'll call you next November, and we can start as artist number one for the. I know what you. Maybe there's a rotation. You can come back on the show.
Sure, sure, exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
thank,
I really appreciate your time, and thank
yeah.
you so much for thinking of me to want to do this. This is very
Oh, absolutely. You were my first choice. I talked to. It was yeah, DC's wife, and I said, well, what about this woman that this Sandro's wife, she seems really interesting. She's like, oh my God, yeah. So anyway, I'd been targeting you for a long time,
well.
but
Thank you. I'm so nervous about these things. I got to tell you,
I
it's
know. Well, get over it. Get
hard.
over
I
it.
know.
Get over it. All right, love you later. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna take a look at the pictures now too.
All right,
Thanks
all
a
right.
lot.
Yeah, let me know. Just keep a dialogue. All
All
right.
right, sounds
See ya.
perfect. Thanks,
Bye.
man. Thank you.